Throughout voice lessons, we have explored various voice training techniques. I have chosen to discuss 3 of these techniques and explain how these have worked for me. The chosen techniques are received pronunciation, known as RP, accent training, and voice projection. During RP training, we were taught to place emphasis on the front of the mouth and the jaw. We were advised to drop the jaw and allow it to relax. This in turn would help the words flow better and become more clear. We used multiple exercises to practice this technique. One was simply to say various words to one another, but with the jaw dropped. An example of this is the word car, but once the jaw is dropped, it becomes car. There are various benefits to be gained from practicing RP. I have found that not only does it give control over your speech and sound, but it also gives clarity, allowing most listeners to hear the words more clearly. This would benefit stage performers, as many words can be lost on stage or unheard, which could result in the audience becoming disengaged and unable to hear what is being said. Whilst practicing accent training, we began to explore key vowels and consonant changes that were physically different from our own accent. We began to analyse the tongue and the mouth movement and also the sound placement. These were also very similar to the RP training. Not only has this training taught me different terminology, but it's also allowed me to explore my own vocal range and has given me a more strong and confident vocal energy. This type of training is very useful to a performer, as it will help them to deliver a bold and confident performance in an accent different from their own, which could in turn lead to more doors being opened and more work. Voice projection has been strongly practiced throughout the majority of the voice lessons. It was taught that the key to projecting our voice without shouting was to practice diaphragmatic breathing and to relax the head, neck and shoulder muscles. We looked at various exercises that push for the voice projection, such as walking around the room singing. This called for being able to understand the mechanics of the breath and to push the breath so the voice could be heard clearly. This training has helped me better understand the power and potential of my voice and has helped me communicate more effectively. For instance, throughout the year we've had to do various presentations to a large group, which can be quite daunting. However, this training has enhanced my public speaking skills and my presentation skills. This is definitely useful as a performer and can definitely be applied to other practices. Throughout forum theatre classes, we looked at dramatic situations from everyday life. We were taught to get in small groups and create a piece based on the way that women are oppressed. We must perform this to 16 to 19-year-old students, so the piece must be relevant to them and it must be something that could possibly happen to them. The audience would then become the spectators, which involved them intervening and sharing their ideas of how the situation could be made better or how the situation could have been prevented. This particular interactive theatre encourages not only the actors to analyse the root causes of the issues being performed, but the audience too. This meant the audience must act to change the situation to suit social justice. The audience must give their opinions of why they think the situation happened, how they think the situation happened, and how it could be changed. Not only did the audience get to watch a piece of theatre, but they also got to be involved in the theatre and the making of a new piece. It can be hard devising a piece of theatre or to imagine what a character may do or say in a particular moment. However, forum theatre offers the chance to stop a performance and receive other suggestions that can give better ideas about what to do or where to go next. This can take the piece in a new direction and explore various ways of dealing with certain situations which could be applied in everyday life. Many of us tend to deal with some issues that we may have the same way and get the same results. However, this offers a new complete outlook on how to deal with situations, which you could in turn apply this to your own life. Throughout composition, the aim was to work on building a performance. This involved us experimenting in lessons with various shapes and tasks given to us by our tutor. The lessons were spent developing our ability to create movement based on objects. This included being shown a picture. We would then recreate the pose in the picture or recreate the emotion that it made us feel. We would perform these to our group, and we were able to take other people's movements and add them to our piece. We then used various different ways of changing these movements. For instance, we might speed them up, slow them down, do them backwards, do half of them, repeat them. It gave us various options of how we could create a piece without struggling to develop new ideas. This approach is very useful in creating a piece as you begin to use ideas you wouldn't have normally thought of. This way of improvising was something I used when creating the end of year piece, as it allows you to create a piece without overthinking or stressing about what you're doing or where you're going next. It gives you a new outlook on how to develop a piece, and it also gives you fresh ideas that you wouldn't have thought of. Throughout the movements that we did, we also added text to it, so at any point when performing a movement you could say a line. Although when we performed it to an audience, it seemed like an actual piece that we had purposely developed and purposely said these lines for a reason. However, to us, we was just randomly saying the lines whenever it felt necessary. It's a very freeing way of performing. You don't get mind blocks from it. You also feel more creative and more like you want to do something. You go with the flow and you do whatever you feel necessary. It's a very open, and you're able to do whatever you want to do. Year performance was something that I found very tricky. We had no guidelines, we had nobody to tell us what to do, and we had nobody to tell us how to do it. Therefore, we was left to our own devices, and we must come up with something that incorporated everything from the 3 years. Myself and Georgina decided to base our piece on blood donation. At first we wanted to get real footage of myself having my blood being taken, however this proved tricky. This meant that we had to go right back to the drawing board and start over again. After careful thought, we decided that what we would do was incorporate different aspects of the year that we thoroughly enjoyed. We decided to use the film, live performance, verbatim theatre, and we would also give informative information. The live theatre was something that I definitely did enjoy. We decided to use a verbatim style whilst doing this. This meant that we had to find information online about people who had been giving blood or had received blood donations. The interesting thing was that these was people from all over England, therefore their accents could be from anywhere. This was when our accent training came in from voice. Not only must we recite the lines that we'd learn, but we also needed to learn the accents. Therefore, we needed to call upon our skills that we'd learned in the voice lessons. Throughout the piece, we did come across many issues with tech. However, we managed to overcome this. This involved me learning something completely new, which was video editing. I have never done something like this, and as much as I found it difficult, I'm very happy that I now have a new skill. The end of year performance taught me that you can start with absolutely nothing and come up with something as powerful as a blood donation performance. Although we initially started with 3 of us and it was put down to 2 of us, we still managed to work it out. However, the thing that really did not go to plan was the tech side, as we thought that we would have more tech help and more of a space. The stage was narrowed down, which meant our piece needed to be smaller. However, we managed to figure this out and still give what we believe to be a decent performance. We was going to use a lot of props. However, on speaking to our tutor, it was decided that these are not just slightly distracting. Therefore, we just stripped it right back and allowed the performance to speak for itself. I definitely enjoyed doing the end of year performance, and it was definitely something that I would like to do again. If I could change anything, I would definitely change the length of the piece, and we would definitely add more to it, although we came across a few problems. Therefore, what we had was put together and we didn't have the time to put more into it, although I would have liked to put more into it. I would also like to involve more in audience interaction and try get them involved as much as possible, like the forum theatre, as I think this is a very interesting slant on a performance. It keeps the audience on the toes and it also keeps them engaged. I was very happy with the way the performance went. As I said, I just wish it was a bit longer and I wish we had more time.